Musician Sean Diddy Combs facing a new round of serious and disturbing allegations. The rapper and record label executive has been accused of sexual assault in 6 new lawsuits, all filed anonymously at this point. The alleged victims include men, women, and a teenage boy. The lawsuit says Combs told them, that then 16-year-old boy, that the alleged assault was a rite of passage to becoming a music star. That is the allegation from him. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister is joining us now from Los Angeles. What more can you tell us about what is in these lawsuits? And at this point, we don't know the names of those who are making these accusations.
That is correct. These were all filed anonymously as either Jane Does or John Does. There are 4 male accusers who filed as John Does, and there are 2 female accusers who filed as Jane Does. Now, these lawsuits, Sarah, range from 1995 to 2021. There are a lot of similarities throughout these lawsuits. All of the accusers are alleging that they were sexually assaulted by Combs, and half of the accusers alleged that they were drugged. Now, you mentioned that one of these accusers alleges that he was a minor at the time. He says that he was 16 years old. As you said, that Combs allegedly told him that this was a way to break into the industry when he sexually assaulted him at a white party. I want to walk you through some of the other lawsuits. One female accuser alleges that she was 19 years old at the time. She was a college student. Another woman says that she was raped at a party in 1995 for a music video. I want to read you part of her lawsuit. It says, quote, "When plaintiff attempted to pull away, he violently struck her, slamming her head against the wall and causing her to fall to the floor. Disoriented and in pain, plaintiff tried to escape, but Combs hit her again, making it nearly impossible for her to move." That is when she alleges that she was raped. The most recent accusation coming from a man who says that in 2021 that he was actually flown out by Combs's businesses and transported from the airport to a party in New York. That is where he said that he was drugged, and then that he claims that he was sodomized. So very graphic details in all of these lawsuits. Now, you may remember that earlier this month, an attorney from Houston named Tony Busby, he came forward in a press conference. He said that he was representing at least 120 new accusers, that he planned to file lawsuits for all of them. These are the 6 first lawsuits to come from this attorney, so they are all represented by him. Now, I spoke to him earlier this month about the lawsuits that he said would be coming. Let's take a look at what he told me about some of those similar accusations.
The white party comes up quite often, but there's a lot of partying going on. Album release parties, after parties, club parties, parties after club. I mean, you name it. These were people that were there, that were allegedly drugged and then allegedly raped, passed around, woke up the next morning with just completely clueless about what had happened to them, and just in utter shock and injured even.
Now, when I spoke to that attorney, he told me that he did intend to file lawsuits for all of his 120 clients that he says that he is representing, Sarah.
Has Combs or his attorneys responded to any of the allegations in these new lawsuits yet?
Yes, I obtained a statement from his attorneys yesterday. They say that that attorney is simply looking for publicity. I want to read you part of their statement, Sarah. They say, quote, "Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts, their legal defenses, and the integrity of the judicial process. In court, the truth will prevail that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted anyone, adult or minor, man or woman." So you see they're not responding to the specific allegations in these 6 lawsuits, but denying full stop that beyond even these 6 lawsuits that he ever sexually assaulted anyone.
Elizabeth Wagmeister, thank you so much for keeping us updated on this ongoing story with more lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs. Appreciate it.
I'm joined by our CNN senior legal analyst and former Assistant U.S. Attorney Elie Honig. Some of these go back to the 1990s, but this is the first time he's been accused of something with a minor. Can you just put this in context of what it means for prosecutors here and what this looks like?
So this is only trouble for Sean Combs because prosecutors look for this kind of thing. We look for media reports. We look for civil lawsuits as a way to find new victims in cases like this. So I promise you, the prosecutors on this case are reaching out to the lawyers for these 6 new alleged victims, and they're going to start vetting them. And if any of these victims prove out to be credible and corroborated, they're going to be added to this indictment. If we see a new indictment, and prosecutors are just trying to build their case here, they have this much more ammunition that they can look into using now.
So we could very easily see this being added to that indictment.
Happens all the time. In sex assault cases, especially where you have a mass
Is that a
victim
superseding
case.
indictment?
Exactly.
What is that?
You got
Okay.
the terminology, yes, a superseding indictment. But this happens in sex trafficking cases. I did a case once where we started off with 70-some victims, and when word got out, we did a big splashy press release, we found a couple dozen more because there's comfort in numbers, right? Think about if, God forbid, if you or someone you knew was a victim and you found out other people are coming forward, it makes it easier for others to come forward. So I do expect this case to grow.
Well, it makes me think of when Diddy was first charged, we had his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, here on The Source. We were talking to him because in the indictment it said 50 victims and witnesses. And obviously that's a massive number. He argued to me, he thought it was 49 witnesses, 1 victim.
Yeah.
I mean, you were skeptical of that then.
I was
but-
very dubious then. Now I'm certain that that's wrong. First of all, the indictment says victims, plural. Second of all, I promise you that prosecutors are already in touch with at least the lawyers for these 6 new people, and they're going to check them out and see. And by the way, you have to be careful when you're a prosecutor with civil suits because they can be a good source of leads. But remember, these are people who are now asking for money. We've already seen comments from Sean Combs' lawyer saying, oh, they're just looking for a payday. So you have to be extra careful and make sure that you can not just believe them, but corroborate them. Can you back them up? Can you find other evidence that you can present to a jury and say they're telling the truth?
And of course, he's denied all wrongdoing.
Yep.
But when you're looking into this, if something is legitimate and prosecutors do find something, we don't know. Obviously, these are anonymous people who are making these very serious allegations. How soon could those charges be added?
Oh, you need to move very quickly.
He's
in
going
this
to
case.
trial next May.
Yeah, the trial's in May, and so prosecutors aren't going to want to blow up that trial date. I think they're going to want to get it in real quick. And by the way, some of these allegations, as you said, go back to 1995. People are probably wondering, well, isn't that beyond the statute of limitations? Usually it's 5 years. But the catch here is RICO, the racketeering charges, which prosecutors have brought. And racketeering can enable you as a prosecutor to charge conduct that goes way farther back than 5 years. So racketeering is a real powerful tool for prosecutors. I once charged a case involving conduct that went back to 1987 based on racketeering. So watch for prosecutors to use that here.
Elie Honig, thank you.
Thanks, Kate.